So for the newer people to the Mike Ferry organization, I want to mention to you that when I asked these top producers how often they worked with buyers, and the response was very minimal in terms of time invested, you understand, of course, we've been working with a lot of these people for 5, 10, 15, 20, Monique, how many years? 2005. Since? 18 years. 15 years? Yeah. So I'm losing my voice and I can't hear and I can't see, but outside of that, it's pretty good, okay? Are you out there? Yeah. Okay, good. Because with these lights, I can't see. So whether it be 15, 18, 20 years, for some of the newer people, remember what I said to you yesterday morning. It takes more time than most people think. But these two rules could be put into play immediately to save you a lot of time. So Pat McVeigh said, if you're going to show property to buyers, Mike, here's the lender that will pre-qualify the buyer before you show property. So I would call the buyer, set an appointment, tell them that they had to talk to Dan Trent first, and if Dan approved them on getting a potential loan for whatever amount they needed, then I would be there to take care of that transaction for them. But, you know, these properties were selling for $30,000. Most of the properties were FHA, VA. So I don't know if I ever told you this story, I probably did. I made my first actual sale, my very first day in real estate. Now there is somebody in this room that has done that besides me, okay? Who did their first deal their first day? Usually they're,
Water, I'll get you your medicine ball.
Good, thank you. Here's to us, vodka. Hot vodka. Whoa. So somebody said, are you really losing your hearing? No, I've lost it. Did they just laugh? Okay. So, you know, getting older is fun and a bitch, let me tell you. So Pat McVeigh introduced me to Dan Trent, and Dan Trent would pre-qualify them, and, you know, they were trying to buy at VA. So I made my first sale my first day because there was an ad in the newspaper for the company. And my first day, George Ostoff was the manager. And George wasn't tall enough for his weight. And George not only managed the company, but he owned a Mexican restaurant in the shopping center. And we would go have lunch there, pick up a couple tacos to go, and then he would bill us once a month. It was a great program. Well, I'm sitting the first day in the business, sitting on the floor schedule because everybody went to lunch at George's restaurant, but the new guy had to be on the floor. And I remember George walking up to me and said, I want you to be on the floor. I said, I am. He said, no, you're not. I said, George, I'm on the floor. I got my feet on the floor. I had no clue what he was talking about. He said, you have to take floor time. The hell is that? Well, while we're gone, you answer the phones. I said, oh, you want me to be the secretary? Because what I've always said to agents, if you're taking floor time, you're now the assistant for the office. So you're working for an office, don't get mad, it's too cheap to have somebody answer the phones. So that's why I created the call coordinator system back in 1985 for brokers to use in their companies. So I get a call and I answer the phone. Hello, is this real estate by McVeigh? Yes, it is. Can I help you? We saw an ad in the paper. We want to see the property. I said, okay, come on in. And I hung up. I didn't know what to do. I said, come on in. Well, about 30 minutes later, this car pulls up and this little fat man and little fat woman and 3 little fat kids, they virtually come waddling into the office, okay? Now I know with the woke generation, you're not supposed to talk about fat people. If I said 3 real skinny people, you wouldn't laugh, okay? So after lunch, you have to laugh because it helps you stay awake, because sometimes Tony and I and Ron aren't very good. So since we're on a roll being good, let's keep laughing. So I said, can I help you? We saw the ad in the paper about the home that was for sale. I said, okay, well, we want to see it. I said, I showed him the advertisements. Which ad? That ad. I went, shit. I had no idea where that house was, hadn't seen it, didn't know where the file was. I'll be back in a minute. Went back, took the listing file, opened it up, found the file on that listing, and it was Pat McVeigh's, one of his personal listings, the broker. So I take the file, and I was driving a Porsche at that time, so I put the husband and wife on the front seat together. It wasn't good. And put the 3 kids in the little package rack in the back. They boom, you know. If we would have had an accident, nobody would have been hurt. Well, we were packed in like sardines, okay? So I find the house. I actually gave them the Thomas Guide, which, when you think about it, remember the Thomas Guide? The dumbest map book ever produced in the history of mankind. As soon as you get halfway through the block, turn to page 91. Cha-da! And you're trying to drive your car and find page 91. So we find the house, we go up to the front door, I knock on the door, lady answers, my name is Mike, I'm with the real estate company. These people want to take a look at your house, would you mind showing them through? I haven't seen the home, show them through. She said, okay. So I waited in the front yard with the kids. Who would like to close buyers faster? Let them show the house, because they will show it with excitement, energy, enthusiasm, and point out all the good stuff. And then, well, what do? Stay in the front yard with the kids so you don't screw up the process. Well, they come out 20 minutes later, get in the car, pack them all in. We go back to the office. I get out of the car. Eddie, I start to walk towards the office, and they follow me in. What do you want now? Showed you the house. Well, we want to buy it. Okay, so now I got to go back and find a contract. And of course, now 1970, a purchase contract was 1 page, all blank. How do you want to buy? I want to buy VA. The buyer wants to buy VA. Would you sign the contract, please? And they did. So I'm excited. They leave. George comes in with Pat McVeigh about 20 minutes later after lunch. And of course, I jump up. You're not going to believe this. I sold Pat one of your listings while you guys were gone. I sold it myself. George looks at the contract and said, you didn't write down the price. I said it was in the ad. They had read it. You didn't write down the address. Hell, I could hardly find the house. But you got to fill in the price and the address or we can't do anything with this. So I called and got the price and the address. And they, as I said, wanted to buy at VA. So Pat had me call Dan Trent. I said, here's the number of the person that wants to buy the house VA. Dan calls me back and said, the guy has not been in the service. He wants to join the service so he can buy VA. So I wrote that transaction, I think it was around June 2nd or 3rd, 1970. It hasn't closed yet. And that $230 check is waiting for me, let me tell you.